Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of HSP I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by the wonderful Danie Muniz. And today we are going to talk about her personal transformation story and how she journeyed through disownment to self ownership. And having gone through probably a similar journey, I know how difficult this journey probably has been, and how many of us struggle with a similar type of journey. And that is also the reason why I love talking about these things, because I like to have people know you're not going through this alone. There are more people going through something similar, and hopefully you will walk away with some inspiration and maybe even already some actionable tips. So thank you, Danie, for being here today and sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Barbara, for the space. I'm super blessed and honored to be here with you and to share. Yeah, hopefully inspire somebody to know that, as you said, we aren't alone, even though we feel like we're alone and there is nobody else that would understand. There are many, many of us out there who have gone through the journey and are going through our own journey still. And so I'm glad you have this opportunity for people to share and to hear, to be
Thank you.
inspired.
Yes, me too. Because I remember when I was going through my journey, yeah, everybody has a journey. There's no question
Yeah,
about that. But when
no,
I was going through my journey, there were so many things I didn't understand. And I remember feeling incredibly alone.
yeah.
And I didn't understand a lot about myself. And most people didn't understand a lot about me. And it felt
Yeah.
very confusing and isolating and lonely. So I know through the work that I'm doing, I've been guiding people like me for the past 13 years. So I've seen lots and lots of people go through something similar, and that
Yeah.
is part of what inspired me to invite beautiful guests like yourself to also share your journey, because everybody has a journey.
Yeah.
But most of us, we don't know that this is a normal thing or how to navigate it the best we can. So yeah, I love talking about things like this because I think it's really important.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Absolutely.
And so your title started with disownment. There's probably a huge story behind that. Could you share it
Yeah.
with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I found myself in the bathroom of a house that I had just bought with my partner. We had been together almost 10 years at this point, and I looked down and I'm covered in throw up.
Hmm.
My body is shaking and I can't catch my breath. And all that is running in my head at the moment is, how do I end all of this?
Hmm.
And it wasn't about me ending my life, although at that point I that might have been a possibility. It was
Hmm.
more so of, how do I get out of this situation I have put myself in?
Yes.
We were 2 weeks away from getting married, and he had been both physically, emotionally, and mentally abusive to me most of those years. And so here we are, about to walk down the aisle
Hmm.
and marry a man that um, I did not love, and I did not want a life with.
Hmm.
And so prior to that, I had we had been on a trip, and there was a situation that happened, an argument that happened pretty often. But in this particular argument, in a household with seven of his other friends and their girlfriends and family members, that I realized this was not the life that I wanted. And so I decided in that moment, how do I become the person who can do this? And I didn't know what affirmations were at the time. I didn't know how to program your subconscious mind. I didn't know any of that at that point. All I knew was I needed to feel strong so that I could go through with this.
Mm-hmm.
because to me at the time, there was no other thing I could do. There was no other possibility for me. It was, I had to do this. And I say that because if you would have looked at my life from the outside in, you would have thought, and many people said, that you have the perfect life, that you have everything going for you,
Mm-hmm.
because I had just bought the house. We had two English bulldogs, which absolutely were adorable. I had just became a branch manager for a financial institution that I was working for at the time. My parents, I went and saw my parents probably every month. They lived out of state, and I would go see them and, spend time with them, the holidays with them. I was just, I was singing in church at the time. I was very religious at the time. And so I was singing in church. And I mean, looking from the outside in, it completely looked like I had everything you could possibly ask for. I mean, we were together almost 10 years. So, we'd been together for a very long time, and we knew a lot of people, and a lot of people knew us. And we were the goal couple. Everybody wanted to be like us, but nobody knew, including my family, including my friends, what was happening behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
I had been depressed for about 2.5 years, which I didn't know was what was happening. I just didn't want to do anything. I just felt like I just need to stay inside. My energy, being a sensitive person, was constantly trying to manage the chaos of our home.
Yeah.
And so I was so drained that on my drive home, I had about an hour and a half drive home from work, I would affirm, I am strong, I am capable, I can do this. I am strong, I am capable, I can do this. And I would just repeat it to myself over and over again, building up that courage and that bravery and that energy to get home to deal with whatever I was going to have to deal with at the time. And I will tell you, Barbara, I did not know. I would never have told you. And even a few years after I left that relationship, I would never have said that I was in an abusive relationship. I would have never had said that there was anything wrong, because I had perceived it as, this is what happens in relationships.
Yeah, this is
This
normal.
this is normal. I had seen my dad be very controlling of my mother, and I never saw him hit her or beat her or do anything of that sort. But I did see a lot of emotional manipulation. I did see a lot of the power plays in relationships, and so it was normal to me to see that type of thing. I may not have liked it. I may not have thought it was the best, but it just was like, this must be what relationships are. This must be what happens. And so it came to that point where the 2 weeks before, my friend had witnessed us have an argument. And it was the first time that anybody had really seen us argue. And the next morning, she tells me, that's not okay. The way he talks to you is not okay. And I was like, but what can I do? I'm about to get like, we're all people are flying in, all the deposits. And
Yeah.
she was like, I understand, but that's not okay. And I think it was the first time somebody was looking from the inside out. They were looking at the same thing I was, and they said, this is not okay. And it was
No.
almost as if, Barbara, that I had permission to say, oh, okay, it's not okay. This isn't right. I can do something. At that point in my life, I was not in control of anything. I didn't know this because, again, we go through things and we think this is normal. We think this is okay, but we feel something is not right. We know it intuitively. I knew all of those years. I tried to leave a couple of times before. So I knew that it wasn't right, but I kept getting sucked back in.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. I was in a relationship very similar to that one as well, and it happens also gradually, right? It
So gradually.
One day you are madly in love, and the next day he's this controlling asshole. Then you would have walked away. If the beginning of your relationship was and the end of your relationship were only a day apart, you would see the difference and you would have never accepted it. But
Yeah.
it's a gradual process, and it also comes because you go into it loving. You love the other person, and we get taught you need to work for a relationship. You also don't give up. It's a give and take.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
our natural nature is to want to take care of other people, to be
Yeah.
there for other people, to make the relationship work. It's also a bit the female role in life, right? Where
Yes.
take care of the husband and you make the
Mhm.
home,
Mhm.
and it's natural that a man gets home stressed from work, and that he sometimes takes it out in the house. And
Yeah.
so it starts off small. It starts off with little things, and you don't really notice, and then you think, oh yeah, he probably had a bad day, when it is a little bit more noticeable, or things like that start to happen. And
Yeah.
you get used to it, and that is what makes it normal. And if you've also never had an example that shows how it's supposed to be, I never had parents that were in a healthy relationship that
Mhm.
showed me what a healthy relationship looks like. And the one
Yeah.
I was in was already much better on the outside and
On
also
the
at the
outside.
beginning looking
Yeah.
than the ones my parents had. So
Yeah.
it's very confusing to you, because yeah, it feels like, oh yeah, every relationship has issues, and every
Yeah.
couple has ups and downs, and
Yeah.
so you don't notice it that much in the beginning, and
No.
when you're not careful you lose your complete identity.
100%. That's exactly what I think. I went from an identity of what my parents thought I should be
Hmm.
to the identity that I should be in this relationship,
Yes.
to where I did not know who I was. And so after I left, I have what I call my year of yes. And that was a year that I said yes to things, because Barbara, if you would have asked me at that time, like, where do you want to go? Like, what's your favorite food? I would have had, I would have said something that that other person liked, or something that my family liked. I didn't know. Like, I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what I wanted to do on a Friday night. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I didn't know anything about myself. And so the year of yes was me saying yes to things that people would ask me, like, hey, do you want to go here? And I'm like, yes. Do you want to do this? Yes. And I just kept saying yes. And I'm gonna say, I did not like all the things that I said yes to. There were things that I'm like, oh, I will never do that again. And then there were
Yes.
things that, like, oh, I didn't even know I liked that, right? And I liked going to concerts. I love live music. I did not know at that time, Brabha, that I loved live music.
I
Like,
already
it's,
heard the same.
I absolutely adore it. And at the time, like, I didn't know that. And it wasn't until I actually just said yes to new things to start to understand. And that was the very, very beginning of my personal growth. After that year, I went straight in and started learning more and more, and started learning about the mind, and learning about programmings, and conditionings, and all of the things that we all know now, but at the time I had no clue about. And so it was interesting. You think you know yourself, but when you have lied to yourself for so many years, somebody asked me the other day, like, what was the hardest part of that? And it was, the hardest part was actually finding myself again,
Hmm.
because I was so disconnected from her, because I would say yes to things and I'd be like, oh yeah, I like this. But it was people pleasing. Like, it was like because my friends liked it. It was like,
Yeah,
right. It
partner.
was these, all of that programming I did not know. I actually loved on a Friday night to sit in my apartment, like, with a book. I absolutely loved doing that. But I thought I liked going out to the clubs. I thought I liked going out to dinner with friends. I thought those were because that's what everybody else was doing.
Exactly.
But all I wanted was to sit in my apartment with my book.
Yes, I recognize what you're saying. When my relationship finally ended, I didn't even know what food I liked, what music I liked, what I liked to do for my free time. I had no clue. And then that journey begins where you start to discover who am I? And you
Yeah.
said, you think you know who you are, but honestly, I don't think I knew who I was in that moment. I think it was just something I didn't even think about.
Yeah.
Was just you go through the motions and you do what is expected of you, and you go to
Mhm.
work because that is expected, you cook dinner because that is expected, you clean the house because that is expected, you go to
Yeah.
bed because that is expected. So
Yeah.
you do the things that are expected of you, the things that you're supposed to do when you're an adulting. And
Yes.
honestly never really thought about, do I know myself? I was also always very open and very flexible,
Yeah.
curious to try out new things. So in the beginning, we tried out a lot of his things, and things he
Yeah.
liked to do, things he liked to eat, places he liked to go. And there was always something that I thought, oh, yeah, this I like this, or this is not that bad. Or there were also a couple of things I thought, oh no, I don't like this at all. So then he went with
Yeah.
friends, but
Right.
never really tried things that I liked or the food
Yeah.
that I liked. Or and I honestly don't know if that's because I already didn't know what I liked because I came right from my parents, and then
Yeah.
you're also just expected to do what they say. So doing
Absolutely.
what he said was also sort of natural because you already did what
Mhm.
your parents said before. So it's
Yep.
a combination of all of these things that sort of
Yes.
let you roll into something like that without having any clue of what is actually happening or what is happening with you, to you. And
Yes.
then there comes this moment where you sort of wake up, where you think, oh, okay. Hmm. And I remember I had this type of a journal actually, and on one page I would write all the exciting new things that I would try and the new things that I
Mm.
said yes to and how it made me feel or how it not made me feel. Because like you, there were also things I thought,
Yeah.
okay, I'm glad I tried this, but
Done.
no, we're not doing this again.
Yes.
And on the other side, I wrote all the things that gave me grief. And he came
Mm.
for, I think, for 3 months. Every single day, he came and brought me something I had left in his house. I thought, oh my God, how can you just keep on doing that? Do you think that's easy to have to see your face every single day? And
Yeah.
eventually, I confronted him with it, and that is another thing that we often have difficulty with. We have never learned to confront anybody, especially
No.
when you go from the parent home to the
Yes.
boyfriend home, and you
Yes.
don't talk back to your parents, or not my family, you didn't talk back
Yeah.
to your parents, so you've never
Absolutely.
learned to stand up for yourself. And if you
Absolutely.
then have the unfortune to meet a guy that has no problem bullying you around or bulldozing over your life and sucking you in, then you're not even aware of the things that are happening until at some point you think, I cannot do this anymore. And like you, I tried to leave multiple times, but I even had friends that tried to help me, but eventually I
Yeah.
couldn't find another home. I couldn't actually go there or stay longer with friends. And the longer it went on, then eventually I didn't even go to friends anymore because I felt like I cannot be on your doorstep every single week.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would say it's interesting that you talked about the confrontation because it's something that I obviously didn't learn in my childhood how to resolve conflicts. I didn't see that displayed in a healthy manner, at least from my parents and the adults that were around me. I just saw a lot of arguing and then a lot of things pushed under the rug and never talked about again, but yet we're constantly brewing, right? And so the times that I did try to leave, I was confronted, and I didn't know how to handle that. And so it was the manipulation or the strategies that he would use to get me back and pull on my heart, right? Pull on that that sensitive, very nurturing part of me as a woman, but also, I am an astrologer, so looking at my placements as a Cancer moon is a very nurturing and supportive energy, and I just wanted to help, and I couldn't see somebody in pain, and so he would get to these struggles where he was in the hospital, he'd lose his job, and then I would feel bad that I caused that, right? In my head, I'm like, I did this to him. I can't do that. And so I would go back and take care of him. And I loved that nurturing, caring, and it was an easy way for him to get me back. And so I didn't know, right? And so the final time when I did, man, that was really hard because as you said, they they don't want to let you go. Now, whether it is true love or whether it's they are so used to you and the control they have over you, whatever that might be, they don't want to let it go, and
Oh,
so they'll do anything they possibly can, say anything they possibly can to keep you. And he continued and continued, send me the songs that made me think of you, or I love you and I miss you and I wish we, on random times and days where you're just like, oh, they're thinking of you, and yes, they're gonna be different this time and it's gonna be better. And I've showed them, it's all of those thoughts that you have in your head, but it's not it's just a strategy to get something that was missing. Like if we think of it from an energetic frequency standpoint, there's a vacuum that like it's empty, there's nothing there, and they're trying to fill it because the universe, that's how it works, it's going
they
to
like the
absorb it.
situation the way it was. They like
Absolutely, why
having
would you
control
want to
over
change
you.
it?
Exactly.
Absolutely. So yeah, so they're going to do whatever they possibly can. And I'm not saying that only men do this. I know we're talking about males from the standpoint, but we as women, we do this too.
Yes.
If there's something that we want and we're coming from unhealthy strategies, unhealthy ways of doing things, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to manipulate them to bring back what we feel is missing, right? And that's where we run into those problems for sure.
Yes, oh, we're talking about men because we're both women in a relationship with the men. But yes, there are
Yeah.
definitely also females who do behavior like this. I've had clients enough
Yeah.
that male clients that had a female version of
Yeah.
this, and they know exactly what to say to manipulate you and to get you back. In the beginning, it was indeed all my favorite things, and I love you and I miss you and blah 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 blah. And then when that didn't work, he started threatening my animals. Let's say he
Yes.
would hurt my cat or that he would murder my fish or things like that to make me come back. And when that started to fail, he started saying, I'm going to kill myself if you don't come back.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, that also helped. So all of these times I went back, and I remember the last time I completely vanished because I had someone take me to his parents, and I stayed there for a while.
Wow.
And he got me fired from my job because I had blocked him on the mobile, and he started calling my work to such an extent that he was tying up the phone lines, and they had to let me go. So that was really horrible. And then he continued harassing me on my mobile. I had completely turned it off, and the couple of times that I listened to my voicemail, other people couldn't even leave a voicemail anymore. That's how many he left. And then it went
Messages.
from,
Yeah.
oh, I love you, I miss you, I want you back, I cannot live without you, to threatening the animals, to threatening to kill himself again. And then,
Yeah.
every call was a different one. And at one point, an unknown number called me, and I answered the phone. It was the moment when I was checking my voicemail. I had turned on the mobile, and it turned out to be him. And he went through the whole spiel on the phone,
Oh,
and I remember he ending with, I'm going to kill myself. And I was just really done. And I said, okay, can you manage by yourself or do you need help?
wow.
He had brought me to such a point where I couldn't even
Yeah.
feel anything about that anymore, and he couldn't push my buttons anymore. And that is the moment where you then finally break
Yeah.
free of the hold
Yeah.
they have over you, and all the
Yeah.
things I found out later, how he intentionally cut me off from all of my family. He intentionally separated me from all of my friends. He did that for 8 years where he completely owned me, and I wasn't allowed
Yeah.
to go anywhere, talk to
Yeah.
anybody, see other people. I had to come
Yep.
straight home from work. And
Yep.
now, when after all the work that I did to grow and to heal and to let go of all of this, and I think, how could I have ever allowed such a thing?
I know. This, like I said, in the beginning, I considered myself a very strong person. I still to this day feel like I'm a very strong woman. My parents raised me to be very independent, to be very strong, and being able to take control of situations. My dad used to say all the time, you're a leader, which was very positive affirmations for me. However, it did make me feel like when I did do something wrong, that I was a totally different identity, right? Like, how could I be a leader how could I be strong and independent and be in this relationship? And so I think for many of those years, I discounted a lot of what was happening because I would never be in a situation like this. I would never, like, only those dumb girls. That's how I thought about it in my head. Those naive girls, those dumb girls, those weak girls, they're the ones that get caught in these relationships, not me. I'm a strong girl, right? And that is why I think it was even harder for me to even admit that this was going on, right? This was happening in my relationship. And then so much so, there got to a point where I did, I had been gone, I had left the relationship completely, never telling my parents, though, of the severity of what actually happened in our relationships, because I didn't want my parents to think that that was who I was.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't tell anybody. It wasn't until years later when I had done a lot of healing around it and I started talking about it more, and people were like, that was an abusive relationship. That was a codependent relationship. And they're throwing all these words at me. And I was like, oh my goodness. I didn't consider that. And I had to own that aspect of myself, that version of myself who had allowed herself to make these decisions to stay in the relationship, because I was carrying all of that into new relationships I was creating, both with friends and with partners. Like, I was just bringing that idea of people pleasing, and you just tell me what to do, and I could fall easily back into it. That's why I say, like, it had been, that year of yes was such a big awakening for me in understanding myself and understand, because you can do all the work. I know you know this, Barbara, right? Like, you can do all the work, but until you're met with having to actually make the new decisions now, it was all just great things that you learned, great information you discovered. But until you, like you said, I decided in that point not to allow him to manipulate me anymore. You took your power back, right? In standing strong in who you are and completely disconnected. Like, it's not until we're at that point that we can actually say, like, oh, I've healed. It's one thing to do some work and have some realizations and be like, I've healed this, but to actually take that step. And I think that is one of the things, as we are on our own personal journeys and going through the things that we're doing, it's those decisions that we make at that time, after we have done the work, after we have healed, right, and moving forward, because that's where, like, the what do they say, the metal meets the road, or the road meets the metal, something like that, where you're actually implementing, right?
Yes, I think, it's human nature to first need to have to hit complete rock bottom before
Yeah.
we are open to change. And we
Mhm.
might try it, but there will always be something that drags us back. And it isn't until the moment where we've reached the point, well, enough is enough and I cannot do this anymore, that we start to shift and we start to change. But then we're not there yet. That's the moment where your self-discovery journey starts and where you start to discover who you actually are, not just what you like, what food you like, what music you like, where you like to go, what your hobbies are, but also a lot deeper, your inner
Yeah.
core, and where you also start to question the things that you
Mhm.
believe. Are these actually my beliefs, or are
Mhm.
these the beliefs of my parents or my grandparents,
Mhm.
or things that they taught me in school? And what do I think about this myself? What is my own opinion? And I thought I knew what my opinion was because, like you, I'm also a very strong woman. And if I tell
Mhm.
people about all of the things that I've gone through, then people are amazed that I am not in a sane asylum. Also, you are a very
Yeah.
strong person, and still, that doesn't mean that you cannot get caught up in situations like this. So it's about stepping out of the old life and stepping into the unknown and learning as much as you can about yourself so that you can really get to know yourself at a deep, intimate level. I call it the ins and outs of your user manual, everything that makes you you,
Yes.
because you need all that knowledge in order to not step into the same mistake next time or do the same thing another time or still respond in maybe a different way, but still not a way that's healthy for you if you
Yeah.
don't get any insight into what your patterning or your wounding is.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I didn't know that I had certain patterns, in that relationship, and I just into my life up until this point. I was in my early 30s when I left that relationship. So, from an astrological perspective, I'd come out of my Saturn return, and things were feeling. I was not on my right path. I was definitely not. Where my soul wanted to take me at that time, and so things got there was a lot of pressure, like things just got really pressured for me, and I had to make some type of change, and this was the change. I didn't know about astrology back then, but this was the change that needed to come through so that I could be Danie, here who I am now today, which the greatest thing I could have ever done, hardest thing I've ever done. And so I would say for anybody that is in a similar situation or has come out of a situation, it is like you said, it's not easy. We hit that bottom and we learn to pull ourselves out. And there are people like Barbara, like myself, that help people, right, to come out of that and to begin to live their sovereignty, begin to live in, their own power, and know what that feels like and know what that is so that they can take the next steps forward. That it is not I think we kind of gloss over this a lot, that it is not easy, and yet it is worth it, because it's not about overcoming this relationship. It's about what you just said, Barbara. It's about understanding the ins and outs of your user manual, of you, of your soul, of how you function. Nobody has power over you when you can understand yourself, because you will know, oh, this I like this. And I don't mean from a foods or a music like we've talked about. I'm talking about, I like this environment where these things are happening. I like these conversations. I like my soul is called towards this or that or whatever it is. But that takes discernment,
Mhm.
and that takes ridding yourself of the expectations of other people, because that's a lot of what it is the conditioning that we have of what other people will think or what other people want us to do. And my friend, like this is your life, this is your soul's journey. And so if your soul has a particular path that it's here to discover, to understand, to pursue, then none of this other stuff matters. None of it
No.
does. At the end of the day, where we come in with nothing and we leave this plane with nothing, we take what our soul has learned. That is the most important thing.
Yes. Yes, and it goes even further than what you said, because a lot of people struggle indeed with what other people say or think about themselves, and
Yeah.
they cannot stand it, or they feel influenced by it. And when you know the beauty of your own soul, when you know at a very deep level who you are and how you always care for other people and how you're always there, and that your good friends can always call on you and you will always come, and no matter how far away they are or how much it costs, because you know about yourself to every cell in your being what type of person
Yep.
you are. If then
Yeah.
someone calls you a bitch, then you think, okay,
Cool.
cool.
Great. Thank
Or
you.
something other nasty, because you have reached that point where you know yourself so well, so intimately, that if other people cannot see it, that you also know that it's almost always has to do with where they are, their
Yep.
level, or a hurt that's being triggered in them.
Yep.
And that is, lots of people always ask me, how do I not care so much what other people say? How do I not care so much what other people think? Well, this is how. By
This is
getting to
how.
know yourself so well that if somebody has a different opinion from that, then you know, oh, interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I don't think we like this was I'm a big people pleaser. Like my past has always been in people pleasing and wanting to please others. And from the little things like, um waiting in line, at a restaurant for your food, whether it's takeout or to go restaurant, right? Where you're standing in line and you go in and you're trying to get your food and you're like, wait, I don't want to. And am I in front of you? Is it okay for me to order? And like, that was me before. I can tell you, I can walk into a restaurant now in that shape and walk right up to the register. And it's not that I'm not being polite because I'm a very polite person, but I know my value and I know what I bring to the table. So I'm no longer worried about, am I going to walk into a room and are people going to like me? Is if I am I going to walk into the room and am I going to like this room?
Yes.
Am I
Will I
going
like
to
anybody present here, or will I just go away after
absolutely
5 minutes? Yes.
exactly? And I think that like you said, knowing of yourself is huge because
Mm.
if you want to stop worrying about other people's ideas or thoughts or expectations, I don't know who said it, but there's this phrase that says, they're going to judge you no matter what, so do
Yes.
what you like, because people are going, it doesn't matter whether you agree with them or whether you don't. People are always going to judge you. You are judging other people, but we put so much energy on, well, do they like us or do they not like us? You know what? They might not. You're not for everybody. You are not everybody's cup of tea, right? I do not
You
like
know,
the
but
ice cream, certain ice cream flavors. And it's not that those are bad flavors. I just don't like them. And it's perfectly fine. There
yes.
are other people that will like you. There are other people that you get along with, and there's other people that you're going to disagree with, but you're still going to like each other, and that's okay. I think we get too caught up in, it's like, is everybody going to like me? Is this okay? Am I doing it right? It doesn't matter. If you feel like you're doing the right thing, then that's right.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what other people are saying.
No, and this is what people mean when they say find your own tribe, right? It's about
Yeah.
finding people that you connect with, that get you and that you get also. And a lot of my clients are worried, oh, but then I'm going to lose everybody. I'm going to lose all of my friends
Yeah.
and I'm going to be by myself. Well, yes, I'm not going to
Yes.
lie to you. That could
Nope.
be a distinct possibility. There is
Yep.
really a possibility where you lose everybody that's currently in your life.
Yeah.
That happens most of the time, actually, when you finally
Absolutely.
own yourself and start standing for your own worth. But that is okay, because the more you are yourself, the more people can start loving you and liking you for who you actually are instead of for who you are pretending to be. The more real your
Yes.
connections feel, and the
Yes.
more happy you will become. And there's also another person that said, what other people think of me is none of my business. And that is true. What other people think of me is none of my business. And when they choose to express it vocally, then it's still not my business. So then I'm like, oh, okay, or interesting, or so I don't take it personally anymore because it
Mm-mm.
doesn't resonate on that level anymore. I've healed the hurts that
Yeah.
were otherwise triggered, that otherwise made me believe or do something to make it better or make
Yes.
myself nicer or explain myself or any of those things. No, I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to change who I am or what I believe or how I act, as long as I know that I have a good heart part that is always there for people and that I am not intentionally cruel or any of those things, I have nothing to change about myself. I just have to be myself.
100%. I would say that people are going to make up a story about you. And I love that you said this, Barbara, because we don't, it doesn't matter, right? And we don't need to hear what other people are saying about us, because they have a perception of what you did, or of who you are, based on the interactions that you have. Like, I can look at my ex and say that he is a villain, right, in the story. He's the villain in the story that I tell, right? He could also flip that around and say, well, she was the villain in the story. Who's right? Is he right, or am I right? We both are right, because it's both of our perceptions. It's both of how we are viewing the situation. The truth, the actual truth, is nobody knows, but
It's no truth.
God, universe, whatever, they might know truth. But we personally, we have a perception of what took place, and I'm either the villain or I'm the hero, right? And the same with him. And so when I started to look at situations like that, like, they're either going to see me as the villain or they're going to see me as the hero. I don't know. And you know what? That's their perspective, and that can be their truth. I know what my truth is. I know what I went through. I know how I perceive the situation, and that is the only thing that I have power over and control over, is how I choose to view a situation. That's it.
How you choose to respond to it. Because the thing I've learned is there is no truth, not
Yeah.
one truth. Truth is based on a set of facts. For a very
Yeah.
long time, the truth was that the earth is flat until they proved otherwise. And so the truth is just a combination of facts that haven't been caught up yet by the new truth.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
everybody has their own version of what the truth is, and it's called by your experiences, by your beliefs, and by the actions and the things that you've perceived. And that's why I said there is not one truth. Everybody will have a different type of opinion, and in the end, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter as long as it's not affecting you. And I think that's the biggest thing, is like, don't let it affect you, because they're going to have their perception. Just like, and I think about it I'm going to have a perception, and people might not agree with me. People like may agree with me, people may not, but it's just how I'm perceiving a situation. And that's it. And I think the more and more we can respect that, okay, they're going to have their perspective, I'm going to have my perspective. And as long as I am solid in my perspective, I think that was probably the biggest thing for me to understand is this being filtered to what my parents should think, or what society thinks, or what I think my friends are going to think, but truly from what I believe, then there, I mean, that's the most powerful thing I could have. If I am solid in my truth, it
Now,
really
the
doesn't
truth
matter.
is, they're either going to love you or they're going to hate you. But the thing that's most important is that you love yourself.
100%.
That's what it comes down to. As long as you love yourself, then who cares? And I'm not talking about the narcissistic putting myself on a pedestal and everybody should worship me. Love,
No,
because that is not love. But what we've been talking about all along, getting to know your user manual, seeing the ins and outs of who you are. And that's not just the good stuff, it's also the
all
shadows,
the stuff.
the patterns
Mhm.
that you're having. And it's the courage of having to look yourself in the eye and thinking, oh, I could and should have handled that better. I wasn't able to because of this
I
hurt,
didn't have the
that belief,
skills.
but
Yeah.
I'm working on it and I'm transforming it and I'm letting it go. And
Yeah.
so you don't have to be perfect. Nobody can be perfect. The only thing you
No.
can do is just work on yourself. Don't be afraid to look in every nook and cranny, illuminate every shadow,
Every
own
shadow.
everything that is there, and love yourself and be proud of everything that you are, everything that you've gone through, and everything that you've accomplished and are still yet to discover.
100%. I agree. I think I hear sometimes in the community of personal growth and and awakening, and these spiritual journeys of, it's love and light, and it's high vibration. And I think part of that, I mean, yes, I agree. And you've also got to, they want to get rid of shadow, and I'm like, no, we don't want to get rid of shadow. We want to understand shadow. We want to embrace shadow, because shadow is part of us, our shadow side, our parts
There's
of us
no
that,
yin without yang. There's no sun without moon. There's no day
oh,
without night.
this part of us, it's who we are. And so it's understanding that part of us. That's it. It's not good or bad, it's just an understanding. That's it.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I've been loving our talk, Danny. I think we hit upon
Me
some
too.
really amazing points. And if you are still watching and here with us, then thank you. That's the first thing I want to say. And the second thing I want to say is I'd love to hear your story. Is there anything that resonated with you about the things that we talked about? Or maybe you want to share what you've been through, your story. We would love to hear from you. I respond to each and every comment that people leave, and I'll also make sure that Danny knows if it's directed to her. So, well, leave us a comment. We would like to know.
Yes.
If you have a question, then also share it in the comments. But I can also imagine that you think, oh, I need one of you. And so my links are always in the description, and I'm
Yes.
also going to put Danny's links in the description. But just here on video, when people want to reach out to you, Danny, what would be the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, I love Instagram. So if you want to come on over to my Instagram and send me a DM, I would love, love, love to start a conversation with you. Just to tell me what you enjoyed about this episode, or what rang out for you, because I know that we are not alone, that we are, there's a lot of us out there. It might seem very lonely. As you said, sometimes our friends don't come along on the journey with us, but I can tell you, I have made soul stirring, beautiful relationships, being my authentic self and my true self. So come on over and let's talk.
I love that, and you're absolutely right. And it's trusting. That is, I think, the key here. Where you need to jump off the cliff and trust that you will be caught. That you won't
Because you will.
die at the bottom, but that's something beautiful. I mean, your wings need to unfold so that you can fly.
Yes.
And that comes
Yes.
with trust, and with becoming yourself, you will also create wonderful new connections. You will call in some people call it your soul
Soul
family.
family.
And sometimes your soul family can be even more worthwhile than your actual family. So
Absolutely.
trust in the process. And if you need help from Dani, reach out to her. I'll make sure that her links are included in the show notes below this video. If you want to come hang out with me or talk with me, I also offer a free chat. So the links for all of my things are also in the description. So don't hesitate to reach out, because you're definitely not alone. And you also don't have to go through all of these things that you're going through alone. Yeah, I think that's the end of the message. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
I love it. I also loved that you were here today, so thank you for your support. If you're new to this channel, then I would love it if you could subscribe and maybe hit the notification bell so that you will never miss another episode again. And if you think that this episode was valuable, then I would love it if you could share it with your tribe on social media or wherever you're catching this, because you never know who you know that needs to hear this message today. And the more we share our stories, the more we let other people know that they are not alone. And the more we give other people courage to also reach out and step out and share their story as well. So thank
Yes.
you, Danny, for being here, for being open, and for having this wonderful talk with me. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I look forward to inspiring you next week with another beautiful guest. Bye for now.